I think what I do more than anything is I mine music. I mine information, sonic information. I mine it and then we refine it. But we refine it in a way that's particular to whatever this constellation of musicians are. As a composer, I work to find as many interpretations of one idea as possible. And I look to the musicians to give me ideas. Play it. Wait. There is a process of construction. And this construction can move and turn in many ways at any given time, based on anyone in the ensemble. Of course, because I am leading the ensemble, it's a choice. I have a choice, but also the musicians have choice. And this is very important to the direction of it all. So we're playing along, and I get someplace, and I love this music we're playing. Just for this split second, I say, memory one. As a composer, I use signs and gestures to elaborate on and interpret notation. But as this idea progressed, I realized I could eliminate notation altogether and arrive at a real-time encounter to find and express many directions that did not exist in either notation or improvisation. So I wanted to create as many possibilities in the act of composing as possible, and that led me to conducting. In my first conducting class, I asked the teacher if I wanted to take the orchestra back to a particular part of the composition, what could I do? And she said, if the composer wanted the orchestra to go back to, he would have written that. She gave me a very traditional response to mine, and it answered my question because I said, you can't. All you have to do is tell them two. Go to number two and give a downbeat for them to do it. I had to figure out how to find the flexibility in notation. And to do this, I started to work with different ensembles from different stylistic fields. And I found that everyone expressed the same music differently. Their interpretation was totally different. And from that point, I needed to figure out how to take the same music and shape it in real time. This is the way it began, and next thing I know, I had a gesture for this, and a sign for that, and a sign for that, and a gesture for this. This means literal movement. This means to do what the stick does. This means sustain, stronger, more, so that's develop or go on. And it built up, built up, built up. And then I decided not to use written music at all. From that point, I could go to the next step and develop more signs and more gestures that made reference to music, but I didn't need to be specific like notation. Notation is a very specific thing. I didn't need to also cover the same ground that improvisation and free improvisation had to offer, but I had to figure out how to create order and organization with signs and gestures that could represent notation and improvisation. To take the kind of symbolism that lived in notation and apply it to a real-time activity, and to take things from the Black American experience like jazz and blues and R&B and to find the heat, and to find the spontaneity, and to find the momentum that didn't necessarily exist in notation, and to create between the two of them something that could afford me the possibility to find my own expression. Also explore the ways that musicians would interpret signs and gestures.
From the first note to the last, I'm startled by what I hear, more or less, because I don't know what I'm going to hear. When I give a downbeat with a sign, I have no idea what I'm going to hear, but as soon as I hear it, it's like plopping clay down on the desk, and there it is, and I don't have any particular ideas, but I have the skill to mold this or to sculpt this into a work of art.
Real-time development is a very important idea, it's a very important skill, it's very important to the audience, it's very important to the musician. I think it's very important to the composer. Conduction is a very universal vocabulary. And I say it's a vocabulary because music is the language. And I want to make a very clear distinction between the two. I'm dealing with music. I'm in the business of making music. And it's very important to me that the tools of my trade, this vocabulary, this conduction vocabulary, has several functions. And one is to function on its own, and another is to function with notation. Trying to find a greater experience and greater expression has taken me through many different levels of understanding. I mean, through understanding the depth of notation, through understanding the depth of improvisation, and the depth of interpretation. I think they all work hand in hand in one way or another, and applying it to a real-time process has allowed me to open even more new doors to understanding about music in general. It doesn't matter what stylistic background someone comes from, or cultural background, social background. It applies to the individual, how they interpret this information, the conduction vocabulary, the signs and gestures, and how they advance the collective knowledge that we gain.